So here we go. We got 10 blocks. They are like, I don't know, like 1/16 under 3 inches, and then 3 by 3 1/4. They are that size strictly because that's just what size they worked out to be, where I didn't waste a whole lot of wood. So I'm gonna make it work with that. I mean, ain't no sense in cutting it off. I spent all that time gluing it together. So next step is I got to set up my my miter station over here so we can go on and cut them to final length. So basically I got to set that guy right there. I got to slide him out to our final length, and then we'll cut one off and slide them down and hack it out. All right, so obviously, you know, as you can tell, they're all kind of random lengths now. The bulk of it is longer than what I actually need. My top is 1.5 inches thick. I'm going for a total overall height of 36 inches. So I think these are basically like the shortest piece on it's going to be about 35.5, 35 3/4, something like that. One or two of them might be a little bit longer. So what I always do is I always just kind of look them over, and if there's like a bad spot, like something like this right here, like, you know, this, I don't know what that is, a little soft spot, a little chunk of bark or something maybe. In that area right there, I try to look if there's any bad area. I'm going to put that where I'm going to cut the most off of it. So obviously we'll just make one cut right here as short as we can to kind of give us a good starting edge there. And then we'll slide it over and lock it in place and lop off our big chunk right here and get them all knocked down into 10 nice legs, for lack of a better word. All right, so back in the wood shop today, working on this workbench. So got a lot of our stringers or connectors. I'm not really sure what the actual name for the pieces are, but basically what's going to tie all our legs together underneath these tops for this thing. Now I don't have the long ones made for the 7-foot section. I've got the wood right there. I've just got to make them. I just haven't done it yet. But I've got all the short ones made for the short section that's going to be on the right side of the saw, and then for the section that the saw actually sits on. So I'm going to go ahead and try to at least get the one short section put together and get the cuts made on the legs and everything for the section that's going to be beneath the saw, and then we'll get going on those stringers to tie the large section of the table together. So first things first, we got to get over here and get a look at our see all these. So now we got to get over here and get a look at our legs and see what we got next on those as far as what cuts we're going to make to kind of start getting them prepped and ready. All right, so hope y'all can understand hope y'all can see this better than I think you can. It didn't look real great through the camera, but nonetheless, so this is our leg right here. I got me 4 legs picked out that we're going to use. I got the sides that I think look the nicest that are going to be out, because yes, it's a workbench, but you're always going to have a good side and a bad side. You want the good side out, right? That's what I'm going with. So here's what our leg will look like from the top. I'm going to attempt to make this castle joint. I've never done it before, but I'm going to give it a shot. So that's what it's going to look like from the top. So we're going to go side to side. This piece that's going to come from side to side, those are our finished thickness is 1 inch on those. So 1 inch side to side through the top, then front to rear. Now it's been a minute since I've been in here working on this, and so I went over and I was measuring everything. Now for the boards that I've got that are going to go front to rear, they're actually 0.830. I'm assuming that basically when I was machining all the wood down, that was just the thinnest piece that I had, so I had to machine the others down to match it. That way I could just kind of maximize my material that I had. It's not a big deal as long as you know it. True, it would be much easier to have it all at 1 inch because I don't have to set up my machine once, but whatever, I'm not really known for doing things the easy way. Now there's also going to have to be another cut made on each one of those so they'll actually fit together right. Now we're going to burn that bridge when we come to it here in just a little while. But getting the rest of the leg figured out. Now this is the leg that's going to be on the inside right here. So we got to have some pieces cut out, or an area cut out for these pieces to come across our leg and attach on the outside of our leg, or the inside of our leg, whatever. Let's see, what am I going to do here? I think I'm actually going to do these on the inside of the leg. So this is what I'm imagining right here. So these right here, they're going to go to the outside. This box right here, okay? So this and this is going to go to the outside, and this will be the castle joint right here at the top. I guess really if I wanted to just do this the easier way, I don't do the castle joint, I just do the cutouts and affix it to the outside. And I may still do that. We haven't cut wood yet, so I may still do that. But for now, we're going to come up 1 inch from the ground. We're going to mill this material out right here, 3 inches to fit our little stringers there. And we're going to come up 18 inches for the next shelf, where we're going to put in right here. He's 3 inches. Actually, I got that marked wrong. It's going to be 18 inches to the top. Let me fix that right quick. Well, screw that deal up. There we go. Just like that. Now, 18 inches to the top of that shelf as well. So we're going to cut out a 3-inch spot across there. Now, for this one, this piece that'll come across here, we're going to come down 4 inches to the top of that cut, and that's going to be a 3-inch cut right there. Now that's going to be on the inside. Now I've got another cut down here that we're going to have to make, that we're going to make on the inside at this same spot right here. So we'll cut us out a 3-inch spot right here, then we'll flip the leg over and we'll cut out the same spot on the inside. So these boards right here, they're going to be to the inside of the leg. These will be to the face side of the leg. Hope you got all that. If not, you know, we're going to figure it out together, so give me time. Some of this I figure out on the fly, admittedly. So now let's get over here and get to figuring on our wood, get our wood marked, get our machine set up so we can start making our cuts. I think I'm going to start with this first one on the bottom right here and just kind of get rolling with that. Alright, so for our first cut, we're going to cut out the 1 inch, the 1 inch depth for the board, and it's going to be 3 inches across. So first things first, we got to set the depth of our dado here that we're going to use to hog this material out. So I've already measured my little fixture right here. It is 0.78 of an inch. So I'm going to turn this guy on. So what we're going to do now is we got to set this guy at 1.78. So right now we're at 1.61. We bring him up slow. I don't know if y'all can see those numbers or not. We're at 1.676. 1.78 right there. So we'll lock our blade depth. So now we slide this guy up here. We should have 1 inch of depth from the top of this to the top of our teeth right here. That should give us our depth spot on. So now we got to set up, let's see, I got to get my my depth of cut set right quick for the length on my leg here. Alright, so got my machine all set up. Now the way I went about doing that is I brought my fence all the way into my blade, and I used one of my alternate scales on here, and I set that to 0. Then I backed it off 1 inch. That gives me my spacing where I want the beginning of my cut to start. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through and I'm going to run all the legs through. I'm going to make that first cut at 1 inch. Then I'm going to move this thing over a little bit. I'm going to make my second cut. I've got all the boards marked at 4 inches, which is where I need the cut to end, so my boards will sit in there nice and make me a nice joint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of sneak up on it. I'm going to slowly work my way over, and then once I start getting it really close, and I get down to kind of that last cut that I'm going to be able to make, I'll take one and I'll cut it, and then I'll check it until I get my depth, until I get my length just where I want. I'll have my blade where I want. Then I can go through and run all the rest of them through and finish it all out. So let's get to hacking and see how this works out. easy enough. Made a perfect cut through there. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to run the rest of the legs through and get this first cut made. Then we'll come back and we'll kind of work on through them a little bit more. Probably going to time lapse and do a few skips, but you'll get to see the whole process. Alright, so you just saw me, I hogged out the major part of the material. Now I've got a line marked right here for the exact width of my board. Now, I am fortunate with this Mitre setup that I have. I can kind of set a loose zero right here, and I can use this little wheel right here, and I can inch this thing over in thousandths. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking straight down my blade, and it looks like I pretty much got it right now, pretty much dead on where I want to be. But I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to back it off of that line just a touch. Oh, going the wrong way. I'm going to back it off of it just a touch because I'd rather sneak up on it than go too far. Because what I can do is I can make this cut, then I can check and I can check my measurement. I can just stick my board in there and see, and I can always just hit it a couple thou, run it back through, a couple thou, run it back through. Then once I get it set where my board fits like I want, then I can just run all the rest of them through and make this cut. Then I can just knock all the material out of the middle and I'll be done with them. They'll all be the same, exactly the way I want them to be. So looks like I got this guy about where I want. So we're gonna go make this first cut, and then like I said, I know I'm gonna have to come back and make a couple of cuts to get it to fit like I want, but I don't mind to make sure I get it right. See a little bit of my line right here, so I know I'm going to go ahead and work it over a little bit more. I want to at least get it cut right to my line right here. We don't have to stop. I wish it had a digital readout up here. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe someday. That's looking pretty close. Alright y'all, so you'll have to forgive me because, you know, I was in the middle of, apparently my battery went dead on my camera while I was in the middle of cutting that lower section right here, which would be this area right here that I was cutting. And I had my dust collection going, and although it's not super loud, it was loud enough that I didn't hear the camera beep to tell me that it was going off. There's not a red light on my camera on the front to tell me that I'm recording, so I just thought I was recording. And I kept working and talking to the camera like a big doofus. And so what we did was I did go ahead and make the next cut and got it all worked out. I went over and cut every leg and got them cut to the right width for my board to fit in there. Went over, got them all cut. The board fits great in all of them. So then I went over, there's gonna be a shelf in here. I don't know if you remember seeing it on the board or not. So I measured up, I measured up to where I wanted the top of my board to be. I made a cut. I kind of used the same formula that I did down here. Once I got my cut made, I went over, I cut all of them. Then I came back and I figured out where the bottom of that cut was gonna be. I went through, I made that cut. Once I got it where the board fit nice, I went ahead, did all of them, and then came back and hogged out the material in the middle. So this is where all of them are at this stage right now. You've got the bottom, the row for the bottom where that shelf will be. Then you've got the next section right here where the top shelf will be. So now, I was thinking about it while I was at work. As much as I want to make the castle joint, because I think it'll be really cool, I think right now, I'm not a big hammer and chisel guy. I have not perfected that art. So I think that's going to be something better for me to do maybe down the line when I get me like a benchtop mortise or something like that, because then I can just hog that material out a lot easier than trying to use like this dado stack and, you know, push the piece of wood through like this. I mean, it's possible, I can do it, but it's kind of dangerous and it's hard to keep from rocking that thing. So I think I'm actually going to just do basically the same kind of lap joint like I've done with these right here. And so essentially it's going to be, I went ahead, I made a measurement and a mark, basically 3 inches down from the top, which is the same as what our boards are. So, and our depth is already set to the 1 inch. So we're going to set up our saw right here to come through and make this first cut at 3 inches down. And then we'll make that cut. And then once I get it where it all measures like I want it to, then we'll go through and cut them all. Honestly, I might stare at this for a minute because I could actually start right here and just work my way over slowly to it. I don't know. I could probably just use my calipers though and just measure from here to the fence and get my 3 inches. That's what I'm gonna do. So basically I'm gonna take my calipers, I'm gonna measure from the outside of this tooth to the face of my fence. When I get my 3 inches dead on balls, I might even go to like 2.99 and I'll make the cut. Then we'll come back, I'll see if my board fits nice and flush to the end like I want, and if so, then we'll come through and we'll run them all through. So let's get going. Even with dust collection, man, this dado stack, man, it throws some chunks out of here. And I've got pretty good dust collection. Alright, so let's see if I can kind of measure this here, see if I can come up with a way that I can measure it. I guess it really doesn't matter at this point, I've already hacked it, so yeah, I think we'll be fine with that. So now, all I've got to do is basically put this guy up here and I'll just slide him over and I can just hog out the material the rest of the way to clear it out, so then we'll check it. Cut nice. So now let's just check and see if our board fits the way we want it. Shoo, buddy. That's fine frog hair right there. I could probably take 1,000th off of it maybe, but man, that is perfect right there. So that's probably what I'm going to do now. I'll go ahead, because if you remember, I turned it out to where I just backed my calipers off my blade just a little bit, and I mean it was just enough that I could barely see a little light through there. So now I'm going to set it at dead zero, and this thing will be perfect. We'll be ready to cut the rest of it. Alright, so got all that stuff cut out, so we'll just do away with this right here. Never happened. So our leg is looking good to this point. We got this cut made, we got this cut made, we got this cut made. So now we've got to put our cutout in right here and right here for our saw to sit on. So we're gonna have to get 2 of the legs from this side, 2 of the legs from this side. I've already kind of separated them out. So now what we gotta do, the saw itself is 2.5 inches tall. The top that it's gonna sit on is 1.5 inches tall. So that gives us 4 inches total from Ooh, I almost screwed up. I did not figure in the 1.5 inch thick top right here. Ooh, yeah, I like it really messed up. So, let's redo some math right quick. So, we have got 1.5 inch top right here. So, top 1 1/2. Okay. So, back to where we were. So, we're looking at the saw is 2.5 inches. So, we figure for the top, that leaves us 1.5 inches, which is going to put us into this cut for this guy right here, which I had not counted on that. That is a bit of a bummer. So we got 4 inches that we're looking for, because we got 1.5 inches for the top right here. Then we've got 2.5 for the saw, so we've got 4 inches total to play with. So 1.5 from 4 leaves us at 2.5. So essentially we're 2.5 inches down from the top right here, which puts us 1/2 inch into this opening that we've already got cut. So that does pose a problem, or does it? So what we can do is we can flip this leg over and we can cut. Well, so what I was about to say before I was so rudely interrupted by my camera battery going dead is that we're gonna have to cut the mortises for those stretchers for the part of the table where the saw is sitting on. We're gonna have to cut them on the back side of the legs. That way they have room to fit on there without interfering with the stretchers that are on the front side of the legs. Hope you get all that. I know this has been a super kind of intricate and complicated video, and if you don't like stuff like that, I don't know why you're still hanging in at this point, but I'm glad you did. But I promise, it all comes together really cool in the end. It's kind of like Leganometry. You know, the way it all fits together, kind of like a little jigsaw puzzle or like Legos or something like that. It's really cool. It's a pain in the butt when you're doing it sometimes, but because to see it, you know, how it's all gonna fit together without having all the pieces done. But it is really cool when you go to assemble it and it all fits together good. So with that, I'm gonna wrap this episode up. So I guess I'm just gonna call it like Leganometry Volume 1. Thanks for hanging in there if you did this far. Come back to watch Leganometry Volume 2, where we'll wrap up the legs, and then it'll be down to really just some assembly. So come on back for the rest. I promise this thing turns out to be an absolutely fantastic looking bench. Can't wait for you to see it. See you in the next one.